So, a very warm welcome from Düsseldorf today, and we have an international guest joining us who really does translations for a living, and I think he's in Modena in Italy today. That's right. So it's a very international meeting overall. Max, we will dive right in, maybe just after a brief introduction. We want to look into translations today. We know that many of our AX customers are dealing with this topic or generating texts in foreign languages for various countries because they want to tap into international markets, like in Europe. And time and again, we have looked into cases with customers linked to this topic. But today we will take a different perspective. Max is the managing director of Transline. And today we want to look at the strategic level, looking at translations. Transline is a translation expert. Max will tell you more about it in just a minute. And now we want to look at how digitalization technologies really play a role in the business model of Transline. And we also want to know what this means for potential customers of AX and what they can do with the technical means and opportunities, the processes behind them, and how they can find the perfect mix for themselves. I think this is what we are aiming for today. And I would also like to welcome Heike, who will start our survey in the background now, because of course we want to know who of you is working on translation processes for their own company and does this because of growth opportunities. In Germany, revenues are plummeting at the moment, and so maybe you are trying to tap into foreign countries, neighboring countries, markets. Max, I would like to ask you to present yourself. We don't have any slides, no show today. Maybe you can just introduce yourself, present yourself, where Transline comes from, where you come from. I think that's also a very important aspect today, and I'm really delighted to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. The stage is yours. Thank you so much. I will try and be brief so we can dive right into our topic. I've been on board in the Transline group for a year now, roughly speaking. We focus on language management and translation management. We have subsidiaries in Germany, France, and Italy. I think we really know what we're doing, and we have been existing, our company has been existing for 35 years now. We originally come from technical translations and technical localizations, technical writing, copywriting, because our founder 35 years ago started in this field, technical documentation. And I think in our region in southern Germany, there's really a big demand because we have a lot of mechanical engineering, etc. in southern Germany. So there was a high demand. And I myself remember that this has been crucial in my life. When I went to university, I also spent time in France. And I remember translating with an actual dictionary, with a book that you have in your right hand and you write on the other side. So it's incredible looking at the progress that we have made over the past decade. So fast forward, I joined Transline last year. I'm the managing director of Transline Germany, the biggest company, or part of our company. Originally, I come from finance. I used to be a consultant for a long time. So facts and figures is really my thing. This is my background. But at the end of the day, this is exactly what we are also dealing with when it's about managing translation processes, companies, optimizing things, streamlining. And I think AX is really very helpful in this regard. We also help our customers to reduce lead times because at the end of the day, it's about money. And I think we have two solutions in this context that really help us to make life easier for companies. So this is my background. And generally speaking about growth, well, at Transline, we want to grow. We have great solutions. We have amazing customers that we want to cater to. And this is also what we want to focus on in the years to come. So we want to bring our services to our customers because I'm convinced that we have great and solid products. Our customers just have to understand them and use them correctly, and then we can really hit the ground running and create added value. Maybe a few words about Transline, or if anyone has any questions, or you, Saim. Yes, I'd love to. I would actually like to start with the hard facts, so to speak. So at Transline, you have this technical process, translation process, and have been in this field for 35 years. And of course, mechanical engineering really is an important field in southern Germany. You are in Reutlingen. In southern Germany, we have Ulm and Lake Constance, Stuttgart. All these cities are important in the field of engineering. So you have a target audience and customers that are very mindful of quality. How do you convince people? How do you take away their fears when they are worried about things? When you used to be Transline, where you worked with technical translators that you knew, and now you're working with ChatGPT, you work with AX semantics, and are really going down this path of digitalization, automation in translation. So how did this process go? What did your customers think? I would say, generally speaking, we didn't scare away many customers, and our business model is actually solid. We would like to continue with it, but standing still is the death of a company, and our world is changing and has always been changing. And in these past years, our field of work has changed faster than ever. It's at a breathtaking pace. You just mentioned ChatGPT, and if I think back of the versions and how long it took ChatGPT to have 1 million users, I think it was really a brief period of time. When we take other examples, like the development of the internet, or until we used other types of glass fiber or fiber optic internet, this took much longer. In Germany, we still don't have great internet, by the way. We have a lot of traditional customers, and they say that they still want to have their text to be checked by 2 people, and they also are willing to pay for that. I always say translations cost money. And we can convince our customers of this, and we can convince them that we will reduce the costs by using new technologies that lead to the same result compared to when I have 2 human translators who work according to the 4 eyes principle and double-check translations. It works. But what doesn't work is that companies don't have to pay anything for localization and translations. Now, one thing that we have to make our customers understand, and where we also have to provide more advice and consulting, because I think it's a very important point that our translators, who sometimes also work in-house for us and drive this topic, who are also project managers, etc., they become technical consultants in a way, because we are a full service partner for multilingual communication. If there's a customer approaching us who says we are using this and that tool, we use this CAT tool, and then we're happy to accept this, take on this challenge. We can use pretty much any CAT tool and integrate it through our own software, our proprietary software. It's like a logistics software for our data. But at the end of the day, it's about providing the best process consultation, or consulting the customer on the best process for them regarding resources and saving resources. So this starts with, how can I write a text so it can be easily translated by a machine? Not every text was meant to be translated by a machine. And it ends with the quality spectrum that the customer cares about. Of course, in the beginning, I said that quality is something that we care about today. We have pre-translated, machine-translated texts, and a translator checks it afterwards. They edit it. And I think it's the same in most fields, but there are some fields like marketing or clinical studies where I wouldn't advise our customer to work like this. There I would say it would make sense to use 2 human translators, because it's a high-risk area, so to speak. So if you want to be successful, you might have to take different steps or other steps. But our project managers, our translators, our employees become technical consultants, basically. They say which tool is best for our customers and how they can use, or we can use, technologies like DeepL integration, ChatGPT, in order to end up with a perfect and great authentic translation. And then maybe I can also see where we can add additional solutions through our partners. And AX Semantics would be an example of that, in order to have product descriptions for specific use cases and to be very efficient, to be cool, and really be state-of-the-art as well. What I really love in your process is something that I also saw last week in Berlin. We went to a trade fair together, and you really tap into new industries that didn't used to be your customers. Of course, in e-commerce, in the pharmaceutical sector, in mechanical engineering. What's your take on this? How will this be distributed in the future when we also look at this hybrid mix in more detail? What about manual translations? Excuse me, apologies for saying manual translations, but we also wanted to talk about ChatGPT. You also have a great product in your portfolio that will be available for your customers soon. And then you also have the cooperation with us, with AX Semantics. So what do you think? Where's the focus of the industry? Where will you evolve? What will you focus on? Now, maybe we can take a step back, talking about this consultation process. I think it's our task, because many of our customers, and we are talking about the traditional medium-sized companies in Germany, at least in my opinion, that they don't really know how to use these technologies yet. I'm thinking of ChatGPT linked to translations, or they don't know where the limitations are, because I think that it's also a high risk if, for example, people just use these tools without being fully informed. Of course, it's great to use ChatGPT to write an email, but as the managing director of a company, I have to ask myself whether I really want to have the content of my email as part of the learning pool of ChatGPT in the future, because everything that I enter into ChatGPT will be used to train the machine as well. And this is a topic where we have to be careful. And this is exactly where we have this consultation function in order to also point out limitations to our customers, where maybe it doesn't make sense to use machines or AI for translations, but also to show them where the potentials lie. And now to get back to your question, many of our customers, of course, approach us saying they would like to take their internal materials and really have this testing balloon and use machine translations for these texts in order to see what our quality is like and our products are like. But I can also imagine that at the end of the day, we will have an increasing number of customers who will say that they will switch completely, because it's also about money in the end. Of course, machine translation and post-editing helps me save at least up to 15 or 20% compared to traditional manual translations. But once again, it will never be free. Native speakers are still key. That's our business model. We work with native speakers globally. That means we make sure that our customers' messages are understood correctly in the respective markets, and these people cost money. Of course, I can reduce my human time, but it will never be zero, because if it's zero, we end up with a question of who's liable. Any modern car could also drive autonomously, but as long as liability is still on the table, things will remain difficult, and this also applies to our industry. For example, when we have companies who are liable for product descriptions, we need 100% quality. So we see a big shift. We have humans and machine translation working together. So we have a machine translation, and the human translator does the quality check, the editing. And looking at the industries in general, we currently see that, especially when it comes to our major account, our key accounts, that things are difficult. There are many bad news at the moment, but I have to say, quite frankly, this can be an opportunity for us because we can say that even if the overall situation is dire, our process optimizations, our savings can help companies to maybe make some humans redundant internally. That sounds bad, but in the end, these jobs will be cut anyway. So we can make sure that translations or localizations of messages are still of the same high quality while you have fewer employees working on that. At the end of the day, it's just about efficiency optimization, increasing efficiency. What I find interesting is that you don't actually have to talk about quality anymore. It seems to be obvious for your customers that you can reach quality through machine translation. It's possible. You can deliver on that. I know that sometimes when we started out with AX semantics 8 or 9 years ago, people were worried about whether machines can actually copyright and also write in other languages. So this concern seems to be done away with. It's mostly about costs. But if I may jump in here, it's also about wishful thinking. Of course, anyone who uses DeepL privately here in this meeting or Google Translate knows that the quality is good, but we're far away from also having well localized contents, and many people forget about that. It's not just about translating, it's also about localizing. It's about whether my message gets across in the same way in the target country. I think many of our guests here know that localization is key. But let's take a step back. I will try and look more at e-commerce now and sales because we have many people from e-commerce joining us today. What's the hybrid mix that you offer? So let's say I call you, I'm a dealer, I'm a manufacturer, and I have a retail business, and I would like to know where we can work together. What are your focus points? What are the tasks? So maybe you can just give us the bigger picture. You have all of these services, and then maybe in a second step, we can look at your specialization when it comes to ChatGPT. Now, our first service that we offer, of course, is traditional website translation. Let's say I'm a German e-commerce retailer and I would like to enter 10 markets, so I need 10 different languages. And this is where we can take your website and translate it in a short period of time. Why is that? We have an ERP system, a proprietary system for languages. We don't want to use with data in different data formats or file formats. We create an interface actually for WordPress or wherever your website is hosted. We get the contents, we integrate it into our translation process in a structured way, and then we upload the contents again. So this is really my favorite topic here. And when it's about contents of your website that you also want to adapt, then we look at localization. And here I have to look at special cases in our target countries, especially when it comes to e-commerce. And a third topic where we can provide support is when it comes to SEO, search engine optimization, for various target countries, because people always want to know how we make sure that after the translation I still have the right keywords. For example, that people find me in Argentina and understand what I'm about correctly. And this is actually our business model. We have a worldwide network of translators, and when it's about localization, about placing a product in a respective market, we work with marketing translation agencies on site in the respective country so that native speakers really find the correct terms and place the products correctly. So this is part of our service and of our promise. We have this network, and I don't have to get in touch with 10 different agencies in foreign countries. No, we have one contact person who coordinates this entire work. Okay, so this is the manual process. When would you recommend a retailer to use ChatGPT with a post-editing a process like you mentioned earlier? Well, generally speaking, I would say for e-commerce, for a website where you can see and tell that large parts can be translated with machines, that would make sense. But at the end of the day, it's about the level of quality that you are aiming for. Let's say the customer actually doesn't know exactly what's happening in the process because we have integrated all these different technologies in our process. And maybe I take a left turn to my 4I principle, human translation, or I take a right turn to AI. And of course, we're transparent because this also affects pricing. We don't sell a 4Is principle according to ISO norms and standards with an MTTP translation. That would be a gray area, but we don't do that. We want to be transparent. We want to provide the perfect consultation and advice to our customers. We tell them where we need analyses and localizations, but the benefit is that many websites and homepages can actually be AI translated. Because, again, we have native speakers who post-edit these texts, so they can still do the localization in a second step. So the machine suggests a translation, and then we have the original text, and our specialized translators can actually chime in and let us know whether this is the right wording in the target country. So you don't have any hard criteria based on which you take the decision, because to me it seems the smaller the niche, the worse machine translations actually are. Well, we have to make a difference between the languages. For European languages, it works quite well. I don't know what it's like for you, but I personally haven't found a good engine yet that is really adept in Japanese or Swahili. So we, at the moment, focus mainly on European languages. And even for the Nordic countries, for Scandinavia, it can be tricky sometimes. But at the end of the day, we have a good result as long as we stick to European languages. So I think this really is important to know. And of course, it also depends on the text type. When we talk about e-commerce, I don't think things are so tricky, but when we have legal texts or marketing texts, we know that it's quite hard to have them translated by a machine. Marketing, because there's emotions involved and messages that I want to get across, and legal text, of course, because I have to have 100% accurate and perfect quality. So of course I can always use the state-of-the-art technology, but I wouldn't feel good in these areas to sell a machine translation to my customers in these fields. Well, I can only agree with you. We had an experiment with Danish texts and ChatGPT recently, and it was sobering. Not necessarily disappointing, but sobering. And if you have a small niche, then on top of that, maybe special components in mechanical engineering or technologically very innovative products, the latest mobile phones, etc. Machines often lack the training data. So translations into Danish, for example, are not top-notch quality and require a lot of post-editing. So you have to be careful there. Excuse me. No, that's all right. Now, talking about ChatGPT, you have made the same experience that we have made, and that is that customers are sometimes worried about their data. But you have created a solution here that you will make available soon. So your customers could rent this or subscribe, or do you have to operate it? What does it look like? Please describe your product, Transline, with ChatGPT. Now, we don't only use ChatGPT. Of course, we tap into the entire topic when it comes to language management to become more efficient, to work more efficiently, and maybe also to be more creative in a way, to be able to work more creatively and use this more creatively. Generally speaking, it's about where do we come from. We have a lot of customers in life sciences, for example, that of course work with personal data. Translators in general work a lot with confidential data and personal data in today's world of translation, you often get translation packages that the translators have to download. And of course, they are located in Australia, in Asia, etc. So the data ends up in these countries anyway, where we maybe don't have a level of data privacy that is as strict as we have it in Germany. So some customers approach us and say, don't you have a protected product environment that you can host for us, where we can be sure that our data is protected, where we know that we have servers that are located in Europe at least. Our servers, by the way, are in Germany, to make sure that data privacy is something that you take care of. So we have a protected environment also for these machine translations. And if our customers want that, we can provide these protected environments in our systems where translation processes can be created and generated completely, where we can also use DeepL or ChatGPT in a protected environment. There are versions of these softwares that use a proprietary cloud, for example. So I have the training material and then I use it, and basically ChatGPT is just the bot that really applies this language model. But when it comes to entering data, nothing really happens. But of course, having entered the data, this will be saved, and in the next version, this will be used as training material. And this is something that we want to prevent with our protected production environment. So we can tell our customers, you will have your Transline servers or version, so you only have your own cloud and get the access to this cloud, and it's stored on servers, on protected servers as well. And this is another benefit too, because when I use ChatGPT or DeepL today as translation mediums, at least my translation memories have not been uploaded, the corporate language of the company hasn't been uploaded, etc. So we can actually integrate this in our case. So we have this protected area where our translator has translated something, and then it's saved into our translation memory. And I will have it next time too. And I can also incorporate corporate language or terms from our customers. So this increases quality at the end of the day compared to using an open version. So data privacy is something that you really care about. And I can also take very current topical papers, maybe even confidential papers, and translate them in a protected environment, and I don't have to worry about my data being disclosed in public and being used by others. Now, we also work together for a very interesting reason, and last week in Berlin at the trade fair, this has become ever more clear. We have been talking for a while now. You tried us out, you tested our product, and then you said that you liked our product. And now we would like to know where you are heading. We talked about the LLM translations. Now, what will you do for customers that are using AX? We're talking about our service. Yes, Transline for AX. Well, basically, once we have integrated a model like this, we can speed up our translation process, and that's great. So we can provide added value to our customers when it comes to internationalization. And AX helps us to offer also localization translations. So as a service provider for AX customers, you can provide help in internationalization with all the topics that are related as well to AX. So you can be a full service provider for translation. on their website. Correct. Are there any questions from our guests, from the audience, to Max? If so, please ask your questions in the chat or raise your hand and you will get the floor. I don't see any raised hands at the moment. But Max, there's a really interesting topic for you and for me, and that is the future. I'm not talking about the next 2 years. I think that's too far away in the future. What do you see in the nearer future? You are in Italy today. For professional reasons, there's an interesting development there. But what do you think? How dynamic is the market, the translation market? What's the dynamic you see in this field? And what will you focus on in the next 6 months? Now, what I have been observing is that the market is changing and evolving rapidly. I don't know if we can call it sensitive, but the reaction has been sensitive in a way. Of course, when companies are in a crisis, they want to save money, and we also are affected by this, or we notice that. But it's not about giving up. Of course, we still want to have a lot of customers that we can help. We want to help our customers, and many of them. So in the next 6 months, we will work on new technologies, on new interfaces, in order to make sure that our customers have it easier. I said it in the beginning, at the end of the day, it's about reducing process lead times. We have a very interesting project, an exciting SAP localization project that we are driving. And of course, SAP is a huge company, but the interfaces are quite rudimental when it comes to accessing contents in the cloud. What I would love to see is that the processes and the obstacles can be reduced. So we have clean interfaces to our customers, to a lot of systems, to harmonize things in order to really reduce work for everyone and to make things easier for everyone. Our project managers would probably also be happy to have projects that are faster, and our customers will be happier when they receive their results, their product faster. Because when we look at e-commerce, we need a short time to market. We need more speed. We need velocity everywhere. And of course, we are working hard on how we can make translation processes more efficient and faster. Because when we tell customers today we will have the translation ready in 4 weeks, they just say, okay, we'll go to someone else. So this is something we're struggling with. And in the next 6 months, we will look on how we can really use technologies full scale to provide an attractive package to our customers regarding translations and the best solutions for them. I think you're actually faster than many of the potential customers that you are seeing on the horizon, because I have realized that it often takes a lot of time until, I'm not talking about the global market, but about our neighboring countries, until they really tap into all options they have. And we have a lot of problems there, sometimes with customs, sometimes with returns to the Netherlands, for example. This can be a disaster, but there is potential out there. And we could probably tap into the options faster by using modern technologies and using this rollout process for neighboring countries. And this actually brings me to our survey from the beginning. Heike, could you let us know what the results of our study or survey in the beginning were? Who of our 28 to 30 participants really taps into this whole topic? What are our results? Yes, I can also show the results to you, of course, but I can also just read them out. 56% said that yes, they are looking into internationalization to tap into growth opportunities, and 40% said that they don't. So it's quite level, quite balanced. But 56%, I'd say, Max, we have enough work ahead of us in the next 6 months. Absolutely. And of course, I also have to look at our customers, our colleagues who participated today, because they are probably also in the no category. Well, Max, thank you so much for joining us from Italy. Heike, thank you for making everything run smoothly, for Simultando, for the translation. Of course, thank you to our audience for tuning in. Please stay healthy. I hope we will see you again in 4 weeks for our next meetup. I'm looking forward to it. And for now, I hope you will have a great afternoon. Thank you so much. Thanks to our guests and your time. See you soon. Bye. Thank you also on my behalf. Thanks. Bye.
Tschüss.